My daughter turned 2 in May. You know, she's the light of my life. She's also the thorn in my side. If you guys are a parent, I know you know what I'm talking about. But isn't it amazing how once we have a child, our perspective on almost everything shifts? Everything we do becomes a step toward our legacy. What will we leave behind when we're gone? How will everything you're doing benefit them when they need it the most? You know, I think about this all the time. And the best way I know to do this is by uncovering the whole truth about something that we all use every single day. Money. Now, when I said that, was there a feeling that you felt? Well, how do you feel when I say mom? Love? Taxes? How about colonoscopy? My guess is that what you felt was probably different than what the person sitting next to you felt. Why is that? Well, it's because our behaviors are learned from those around us who we trust. And that's different for everyone. Our knowledge is learned and passed down from generation to generation. And sometimes it loses valuable information in that transfer. How many of you have heard of the game telephone? And this process happens completely below our conscious level of awareness. Therefore, when we get older and we have children of our own, we unknowingly pass along the same ideas that we were taught, whether they're true or not. And the cycle continues. But what if I told you that everything you were taught about money may not be the most effective way to use it? And what if I told you that you had the ability to stop this generational pattern of financial misunderstanding, just like I have, for myself and my daughter? Now look, I'm not here to overcomplicate your life. So the solution is astonishingly simple. Not only is the solution simple, but it can be explained in such a way that our children, the next generation, will not only be able to understand, but they will also be able to use this knowledge when they need it the most. Which is why I'd like to share with you a letter. A letter that I wrote to my daughter so that I know, no matter how much time I have left, she will have the answers that she needs. And when I'm done reading this, you will have the answers that you need too. It starts like this. Dear Vivi, the day you were born was the single greatest day of my life. That day was also the beginning of my mission. My mission to teach you what I've learned from my failures and my hardships so far. Because someday, I'm going to have to step back. And I'm going to have to let you learn and experience life's important, but yet sometimes difficult lessons, no matter how much that pains me. We all have to forge our own path, Viv. But it is my hope that what I have to teach you will give you a leg up in this unforgiving world. As it stands, 73% of Americans say that money is their number one cause of stress. Your health, your relationships, your home, your car, your family, they all come back to money in some way. And despite what people think, there is a correlation between having money and being happy. Most people that are unhappy oftentimes use money the wrong way, whether they have too much of it or too little of it. You see, what people need to realize is that money is simply a tool, nothing more, nothing less. Now, I'm not saying that money is the secret to happiness, but having money problems, Viv, that could be a big barrier to you achieving happiness. Oftentimes, people think that happiness comes from acquiring things, and it does not. Happiness comes from freedom. And it is possible to have a lot of money and still not be free. Vivi, I need you to remember that. Because here's what society is going to teach you about money. You're going to go to school, and then you'll go to college, and then you'll likely get a job, and you'll earn a paycheck. You'll take that paycheck and you'll deposit it in the traditional bank. And Vivi, you'll keep trading your precious and limited time for dollars until someday you'll be able to retire. Now, that is, if you're among the measly 5% that actually can. But what if I told you this doesn't have to be your life? And what if I told you that all you need to do is change just a few simple things in the way that you use your money, and your financial future would change? Let me tell you a story about Mimi. Folks, we call my mom Mimi. Mimi didn't have much when Grandpa left. When she wanted something, she'd have to save up for it. And I remember Mimi saving her spare change in a glass jar. And over time, that glass jar would begin to build and begin to grow. And when she decided it was time, Mimi and I would sit down and we would count all of that money. And when she had enough, she would buy what she wanted. But you know what, to me, watching that money grow over time, that was fascinating. And I remember she brought me home a little black box. And I started to use this little black box to save my own money for the things that I wanted. And one day, Mimi took me out to look at this dirt bike. I love this dirt bike. And I'd been saving up for it, but I didn't think I had saved enough. And when we got there, she said to me, she said, "Would you like to buy it?" I was like, yeah, Mom, but I don't think I have enough, but yes, I want to buy it. She then told me that I had saved up enough money in that little black box that we could take that dirt bike home with us. Vivi, I'll never forget the way that made me feel. I felt so proud. You see, Mimi had taught me one of the most important things when it comes to money. She taught me to pay myself first. Now, other people might call this savings, but I don't think that really encapsulates the gravity of what's going on here, because we're not taught to pay ourselves first. We're taught to pay our bills first. We're taught to pay our creditors first. We're taught to pay our debtors first. Our needs are always put last on the list. Viv, we tell ourselves we only deserve the leftovers, and therefore we never prioritize our needs, which is why we never seem to get where we want to be. Sweetie, this is completely backwards. Now, I know that we don't live in a fairy tale world where just because we pay ourselves first, our bills go away. Now, that would be nice. So I had to really think about this. How could I effectively keep more of my money while still maintaining my regular bills? And then the light bulb went off. Vivi, for every $10 that you earn, pay yourself $1 before you pay anyone else. If you do that, this first lesson will work. But the world will tell you that you need instant gratification. You need that new outfit. Oh, you got to have that new phone. You must buy this new car. And you need that acceptance and approval from others because of what you can buy. Don't buy into this lie. Don't be afraid to delay gratification. It feels great to have nice things, Viv. And at some point in your life, it will make sense for you to have them, but not at the expense of paying yourself less than you deserve. Know your worth, Vivi. Don't rely on others to determine your worth for you. Vivi, without following this first step, the rest of what I'm going to say to you won't matter. So please don't move on until this first lesson is mastered. Now, once you've mastered the first step of paying yourself first, the next thing I need you to do is I want you to maximize every dollar that you earn so that you're not relying on a 9 to 5 for a paycheck. Instead, you're going to rely on your money to keep making more money for you. But people have this idea that they need to work for money, and Vivi, they're going to tell you that that's what you need to be doing too. You'll be led to believe that trading hours for dollars is the only way. This is the next lesson you must learn. Your money must work for you because your hours, they can't be valued. Your hours are priceless. Listen, you can always make more money, but it will always come at the cost of your time. And Vivi, your time is the most valuable resource that you have. That's why this lesson is so important. If you trade your hours for dollars, you will always limit the amount of wealth that you can have. There are only 24 hours in the day, sweetie, which means there are only so few that you can trade. Please learn how to make your money work for you. You know, I learned this lesson a lot later in life than I would have liked to have. And because of that, I almost lost everything. I was payment away from being completely bankrupt. I was begging your mom for help. Well, except she wasn't your mom yet. She wasn't even my wife yet. Gosh, she must have really, really liked me to stick around and marry me after all of that. That brings me to the next lesson, Vivi. Before you ever invest your money, I want you to ask yourself one question. Do I know enough about this investment? And if your answer is anything but a resounding yes, then either find something else to invest in or do your due diligence on it and then invest in it. Don't assume that because something is a hot topic or because it's common knowledge that makes it a good investment. You know, there's a famous story about how in the late summer of 1929, a shoeshine boy gave Joe Kennedy stock advice. Now, Joe Kennedy, he was a wise old investor, and he thought to himself, if the shoeshine boy's giving me stock advice, then it's time to sell my stocks. So the story says Joe Kennedy sold all of his stocks, and he made a killing. Whether this story is true or not remains to be seen, but Vivi, the lesson is just as important. Get to know what you invest in really, really well, and never rely on other people for advice on your money unless they have the financial wisdom to back it up. You're going to have a lot of opportunities in your life to make money. And some of those opportunities are going to seem really good, maybe even too good. Most people make financial decisions based heavily on emotions and not on logic. But Vivi, emotions are temporary. And if you can see past this temptation, and you can see past the FOMO, the fear of missing out, then the rose-colored glasses will come off, and you will be able to see things for what they really are. You'll be able to make decisions on sound logic instead, and in doing so, you will avoid the pitfalls that come along with emotional-based decision-making. This is the next lesson. To be realistic and never get greedy. Because, Viv, if you get too greedy with your money will be yours no more. Bad things can happen to you, just like they've happened to me every single time I got too greedy with my money. Just when I thought the bigger return was right around the corner, that's when I lost it all. Please don't repeat my mistakes. You know, Viv, there's another dynamic to money and to wealth that most people forget. And I think it's the best part. Vivi, I'm talking about people. I mean, this is the next lesson. You must learn how to give generously without conditions. What is money without the ability to change people's lives? Long before you were born, when I was still young and living with Mimi, we didn't have much. She did what she could to provide, and looking back, I really admire her sacrifice and her dedication to being my mom. But I don't think I really understood the gravity of what was really going on and how much she actually sacrificed for me until a lot later on. Viv, she gave me my start. She didn't have the money to lend to me when I came to her and I said, Mom, I got this great idea. I'm going to open this snowboard shop, and all I need is $70,000 in startup capital. But what she did was she put our home up for collateral so that I could get that bank loan. She didn't want my dream to die. Now, that is a lot of money and a lot of risk for a woman who had to save her spare change for the things that she needed. But without her giving heart, I could have never got where I am. I would have never learned the truth about money, Viv, and I have helped thousands of people change their lives because my life was changed by such a generous act. Now, I give without hesitation because, sweetie, when you give, you get something so much greater in return. This guy, Zig Ziglar, said it best. He said, you will get all you want in life if you help enough people get what they want. You will find true happiness and no greater amount of wealth by practicing generosity and helping people. But people can and will be your greatest adversary. The biggest obstacle most people need to overcome is the way they think about and the way that they use their money. We can't change the way they do that. But the thing is that you're going to be a lucky one because you're going to always know the truth about money. So this mindset shift for you will be less of a barrier than it will be for other peers and your friends. The way you use your money, Vivi, will not make sense to most people. But please share what you know anyways. This is the final lesson. And you're going to get some pushback. No matter how right you are, we can't change the way people think. They're going to have to accept it on their own terms. And this can take some time. Sometimes a lot of time. And sometimes certain folks will just never make the shift, ever. And Vivi, all you can do is lead by example and show them the way. Now, if you follow these lessons that I've written for you, by the time you are my age, you will be wealthy in so many ways. You will be able to accomplish things that I never even dreamed of. Because you're going to have an advantage that I never had. Time. I've not always done everything right in my life. But the one thing I did right is love you with all of my heart. And if I could go back in time and tell my younger self just one thing, it would be this. I would have began to rethink money sooner. Sweetie, I spent so much of my life doing it wrong that I often wonder what it would have been like if I could have just done it right from the start. But then I realized something. There's no need for me to go back in time because my ultimate legacy will be my greatest opportunity in life. Vivi, that opportunity is you. All the love in the world, your daddy. Thank you.